Hey, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the SIUE Housing Move-In webinar. We're really excited for everyone to join us tonight. Um, Tonight, we're going to be covering some of the logistical pieces of move-in, as well as kind of answer any lingering questions that you have as you prepare for kind of the final preparation to move on to campus. During the webinar, you can use we would encourage you to use the Q&A feature on Teams, but you can also post items in the chat as well. Q&A, though, allows us to kind of answer those questions, and then other folks can see those answers. But either way, just go ahead and if you have questions or anything like that, make sure you drop them in as we go. We may pause throughout to answer them, depending on what the questions are, but we will stick around at the end to make sure that everyone's questions are answered. So the biggest piece about move-in is if you signed up for a move-in time slot or a move-in appointment, move-in for first-year students, it takes place during August 13th and 14th, so Wednesday and Thursday, and then upper class move-in follows that Friday, Saturday, Sunday. To select a move-in times appointment, you can log into siue.edu/myhousing, my-housing, and from there you'll click move-in sign up, and you should be able to select a time. You are able to change your appointments. You can just log back in, as we have students who may cancel or change their appointments just based on a variety of factors. There may be different times that become available as we go. SIUE Housing uses move-in appointments to help kind of expedite and help create a smooth move-in process for all of our residents. So it is important that you are there for your specific move-in appointment. With your confirmation email, you should have received the location that you'll use to check in during your move-in appointment. But as a reminder, Bluff Hall residents will check in at Evergreen Hall, which is the building located right next to Bluff. Prairie and Woodland Hall residents will check in at the Morris University Center in the Goshen area, so the main part of the building when you first walk in, kind of near Starbucks. You can visit our move-in website, siue.edu/housing/move-in for specific instructions about where to arrive based on your housing assignment. And residents can check in at your scheduled move-in time or after, but we ask please don't come any earlier than that. One thing that you may note is that when you signed up for your move-in appointment, it said a half an hour or 30 minutes. That is just the window to go to your check-in location. So Evergreen Hall for Bluff residents and the Morris University Center for Prairie and Woodland. You do not have only a half an hour to move all of your belongings in, but that's just kind of the time frame to pick up your key, and that's just to help with traffic flow and other things like that. As we mentioned, at check-in, you'll get in line to check in and get your keys, room and mailbox keys for Bluff, Prairie, and Woodland. It is important that you have an ID. Your ID can be your Cougar card, or it can be a valid government-issued ID as well. From there, residents will also get a car line number, and from there, we will dismiss families from the check-in location by their car line number. And again, that just helps us manage traffic to and from the building and keep our loading and unloading zones clear. Residents can bring one vehicle into the Circle Drive during their move-in time. So we would encourage you to be strategic while you're packing. If you're bringing more than one vehicle, put most of the belongings into one vehicle. The other vehicle can go and park at that building's parking lot, and you can move in. This parking circle will be available after generally about 3:30 each day during Wednesday and Thursday. And so you can always bring stuff up there. We also have a lot of families that may go to Walmart or the grocery store or whatever to pick up any other items that may have been forgotten, or they're like, oh, I should have brought that. But it is important, again, that just one vehicle is unloaded during that move-in time. Additional vehicles can go into the parking lots around 4 o'clock. Returning SIUE students do volunteer to be part of the housing move-in crew. So you'll see them with gray shirts with red lettering on them, and they will assist. They'll kind of swarm your car right when you get there and make sure that all of your items get onto carts, and then they will bring all of your belongings up to your room. And then kind of leave the unpacking and settling to you and any family members that are joining you that day. For Cougar Village residents, they will check in at parking lot 4B out in Cougar Village. So when you're coming down and entering into Cougar Village, it's the first parking lot on your left. We will have staff out there with signs. You really can't miss it. But again, you can visit our move-in webpage for specific instructions about where to arrive based on your housing assignment. And like first-year student move-in, you can check in at your scheduled move-in time or after, but just not before. One key difference is that for Cougar Village, resident and guests stay in their vehicle, so it is a drive-through check-in process. So please we ask that you remain in your vehicles. Housing staff will check the resident in and issue keys. Make sure you bring, again, either your Cougar card or government-issued ID, and then you're able to go straight to the apartment with any helpers or guests that you have with you. Evergreen Hall residents will check in at Evergreen Hall, and you can check in at your move-in time or after, but again, not before. Residents and guests should park their vehicles in the Evergreen Hall parking lot and then go into the building to check in, and then that's where they'll get their keys to their room in their mailbox. And again, make sure that you bring an ID with you. So some tips for preparing for move-in. It's really helpful to take things out of boxes and consolidate at home before arriving. It's also really helpful to pack things into reusable totes that someone can take back home. That way there's not a lot of odds and ends that have to kind of be shuffled on. They stack really nicely onto our move-in carts as well. We also encourage you not to overpack. What they say is true is that students will come home with more stuff than what they bring. So you don't want to start off way overpacked for that. But we do have a list of what to bring and what not to bring located on our website. And if you've seen us at any orientations or any admitted student days previews, I'm sure that you've seen that list several different times. It is a fun and exciting day, but it's also a very well-organized process. And we do ask that you are patient throughout the process. It may seem like, not many people may be dismissed, but that's because we're making sure that the traffic circles are cleared and that the routes to the buildings are clear, just so that it's a quick and easy drive. We'd rather you wait a little bit longer in the air conditioning, especially in August, than be kind of sitting in your vehicle, like waiting to go up the hill, crawling inch by inch. So, but if you do have questions, please reach out to a staff member and we're happy to answer. Every community Bluffberry and Woodland will have building meetings starting at 4 p.m. on Thursday. Specific times for each wing will be posted at the beginning of that wing. And building meetings take place in the building multifunction room and are designed for students. They will last approximately 45 minutes. So again, just keep an eye out when you're moving in, when where those signs are, and then make sure that you don't miss those building meetings. With that, I will turn over to Bridget.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks for joining. I am excited to talk to you about Welcome Weekend and what all that entails. And you all are some of the first to know that Welcome Weekend theme is Jurassic World. So in our case, it is Cougar World. So with that, we'll get into what Welcome Weekend looks like. Next slide, please. So if you move in Wednesday, that evening, Campus Rec will be hosting different activities such as volleyball at the sand courts, which are at Bluff and Prairie. If you don't live at any of those communities, you are always welcome to still go and hang out. The esports arena will have a bunch of games going on, and they will also have some other low-key events happening that evening. And then Thursday, after first year move-in's completely done, is first year first night, which is a huge event happening in the Morris University Center where there will be a bunch of goodies, a whole bunch of different events, and great free stuff for you all to grab. Friday, it's really like go, 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 a lot going on. So in the morning, you'll have breakfast and then meet your major. So if you have declared your major, then you have the opportunity to go and meet with different professors and whatnot. And then after that, you have lunch and then some crafting activities. And then at 2:30, the 4 is the big fun part where it's convocation. So you will all be in the Vidal Bean Center. And there'll be a big show put on. The chancellor will be there. A bunch of people will be talking and hyping you up. And then from there, you all walk with your big class banner to the Cougar statue, and there will be a parade with faculty and staff and current students cheering you on. And then you'll get your class picture that you see hanging inside the muck in Rumbleman Hall. And then after that, there's a sweet treat social where local businesses come and hand out free sweet treats, and other faculty and staff and students will be hanging out as well. So it's a good time to meet different organizations, talk to people on campus. And in the evening, there's so much going on, from karaoke, a hypnotist, that's always a huge hit. If you're more low key, there's glow bingo, a movie night, and then they also put on an escape room. Saturday is really about you getting involved. And so in the morning, there's Cougars in the community. So this is where, if you need to get volunteer hours for any scholarships or whatnot that you have, this is where you can get those easily. So there's so many different volunteer opportunities, from the Humane Society to going to a nursing home in the area. And we will have buses there to pick you up and take you to these places. You'll also get a free t-shirt, I believe. So that's another plus. And then after that, there's a bunch of identity-based welcomes for you. Some different crafting, trivia, campus tours. So if you still feel a little unfamiliar with campus, this is a good time for you to just go find your classes and get prepared for your first week. And then the Greek Life Fair, so you can meet all the Greek organizations on campus. I was someone in Greek life at SIUE, so I personally highly recommend it if you are considering joining one of those organizations. And then the evening is a super fun Cougar kickoff soccer game, where they will also be having free transportation to Cordy Stadium. Please go. The soccer team is great. They're going to be doing a bunch of stuff out there that evening for everyone with a post-game social, and it'll be a ton of fun. And then Sunday's pretty low key, trying to calm you down, prepare for your big first week at SIUE. So there'll be some wellness focused activities like yoga and bike riding. They're also doing an amazing race challenge, so more information to come with that, and some different activities just to bring you to ease and feel comfortable and settle down and prepare yourself for the big week ahead. And of course, ending that with the welcome back barbecue, because there's no better way to end the summer than with a barbecue. That was a lot of information with some dates and times that you may not have. There's not a lot of times, but so if you download the SIUE app, all the events will be in the app with the times and locations. And then you will also be receiving an email about your welcome group number. So that is like your group that you will hang out with going to different events and whatnot. So there will be, if you've been to orientation, it's kind of like your orientation leader, where a welcome leader will be there to guide you to different events, finding your way to all of them, and letting you know, like, hey, this event's happening at X, Y, and Z time. But then you will also have that through the SIUE app. So I highly recommend downloading the app and then go to all the events. And even after the weekend, the first 2 weeks of school continue to be welcome week. And so throughout the 2 weeks, there'll still be other stuff happening on campus. A lot will happen on the quad. So make sure you stop by when you see stuff going on. Heads up, there'll be free, really cool t-shirts happening that Monday or Tuesday or sometime that first week. So make sure you get there early to get your free t-shirt.
And then lastly, resident assistant community meetings will take place on Sunday, August 20th between 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. And that will be for their wing. So again, look out for signage for that, and your RA will likely send a message through our RoomPack software as well. So we are going to open it up to questions. I know that folks have been posting in the chat as well as dropping questions in the Q&A. So continue to keep those coming, but our contact information, you can always send us an email, housing@siue.edu, or you can give us a call at 618-650-3931. And then we also encourage you to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at SIUE Housing. We post updates as well as what's going on in our buildings. So for if you just want to see what's going on during the year, we encourage you to give us a follow. And with that, we will move over to the Q&A and chat questions. So this webinar is being recorded, and we will post it on our website, usually within about 24 hours or so. And we typically will send out an email as well, but it'll be posted on our Move-In website, so siue.edu/housing/move.in. There were some questions about Welcome Weekend and if it's required. We would encourage you to check out the Welcome Weekend website. I will drop a link in the chat for that. Welcome Weekend is all new SIUE students are strongly encouraged to participate in the Welcome Weekend program. First-year transfer and graduate students have specific sessions tailored towards what you're needing, but we would strongly recommend and encourage you to do that. And it is okay to miss if you have some already scheduled obligations or other things going on, but it does help with your transition to SIUE and kind of help refresh some of the information that you got from orientation that may be a little bit distant now. But will also just kind of help you familiarize yourself with campus and get you ready for the first day of class.
There's been a handful of questions about accessing the webinar after this, and we will be putting this entire webinar on our Move-In website so you can access it there and go back and see the slides for Welcome Weekend information and other information as well. And I did see a question about what RoomPack is. And so that is just a service that you'll have access to. It's kind of like My Housing, but it's where you will complete your room agreement form, your room condition form, and then that's also where a bunch of housing events will get placed. And so it's an important system to access once you move onto campus.
And you won't be able to access RoomPack until 24 hours after you've checked in and gotten your key. Like you will get a welcome email when you check in that encourages you to complete a room inventory report for any, if there's anything wrong with your room, those types of things. But you'll have to wait 24 hours after check-in to be able to complete that. There is a question about laundry, which I'll answer broadly, but also for Cougar Village specifically. So laundry is included for all of our residential spaces, including Cougar Village. Each residence hall has a kind of a central laundry facility, and then Cougar Village has, I would say, one central one, and then two other kind of satellite laundry locations on the 400 side. The central laundry is located in the Commons. What's really exciting, though, is that laundry is included. This is the second year that we'll have included laundry, so you don't need to worry about bringing any quarters. But even more exciting is that all of our machines are brand new this year. We worked with our vendor, and so the last ones are actually being installed soon. But those will be ready for use, and they do take pods as well as detergent. They are high efficiency machines, and we do ask don't overstuff the machines, especially since there's not a cost to do laundry. It keeps the wear and tear down on the machines, but also helps your clothes get cleaned a little bit better. All of our communities also have resident assistants, or RAs. Um, in the residence halls, there is one RA per wing, so generally about 30 to 40 students. And then in Cougar Village, it's usually about 2 buildings or so per RA. Campus job applications. So once you're enrolled, you are able to go to the Cougar job line to apply for jobs. You can search SIUE student employment, but you do have to be enrolled in fall classes to look for that. I would encourage you to continue to look online for jobs because different departments kind of have different timelines for start of semester jobs. So what may be posted today may look a little bit different tomorrow. There's a question about outlets. There are outlets on both sides of the room, and generally extension cords are not prohibited, but surge protectors are. So as long as they include that surge protector piece, they would be permitted. I know some of them come with pretty lengthy cords as well. Rich, do you see any more questions? Trying to group these together. So where to park during move-in, or like while you're checking in. For Morris University Center, you can park in parking lot B, which is kind of between the Morris University Center and the Student Success Center, so it's just past where you would turn to go to Woodland and Prairie. For students in that are checking into Evergreen, you can just park in the Evergreen lot until your car line number is called, and you can head over. You are able to park multiple vehicles on campus during move-in, though.
I saw a question about pictures of like a floor plan of each building, and so we don't offer or have available floor plans of every single building, so you can't see like what exact wing your room is in or whatnot. And I also get a lot of questions at orientation about if we know what orientation their specific room is in, because if you see the floor plans of our suites, you can see that some of them are horizontal and the other ones are landscape. We also don't have a way of knowing that, so it's kind of just a surprise when you move on to campus.
Students are not able to move in any earlier than their move-in time, even if like there's a question about getting in early to clean. We're on a pretty tight schedule this summer, especially with the summer semester ending. So folks are not permitted to move in early for that. I will go ahead and post a link to the what to bring list in the chat because we are getting quite a few questions about that.
I saw a question about if mini fridges are allowed, and that's yes, they can just not be any larger than 5 cubic feet. And every student is allowed to have their own mini fridge in their room, but there can only be one microwave per room. And that one microwave cannot exceed 800 watts.
There's a question about room numbers, and I think the question is more about the bed numbers within each room. We do not assign what side or which bed is who, so that's up to the students living in that shared bedroom to determine which side of the room that they will be on.
The beds are, sorry, Dan.
No, go ahead.
The beds are bunkable, so they can, when you move in, they are at their highest height of 3 feet, and you can bunk the beds and lower the beds. But if you want to do either of those, you have to submit a maintenance request, after you check in and get to your space, because you have to be connected to campus Wi-Fi in order to do that. So it is possible, you just can't do it yourself, and you just have to make that request once you get to your room.
And beds are not permitted to be lofted per the fire marshal. So that does, and same with bed risers are also not permitted. There is a question about appliances. Generally, the rule of thumb with appliances is as long as there is not an exposed heating element, they are permitted in the space. We do ask that you're just courteous in terms of the size of the appliance, but an example of one that would not be permitted would be a George Foreman grill, because there is that exposed kind of heating element similar to a toaster. But items like a Keurig or air fryer, those would be permitted.
You are allowed to move the furniture that you have in your space. You just can't remove or take any of the furniture out of your room. So rearrange however you would like, minus lofting.
Along with that, I do see a question in the FAQ. Are you able to bring a TV wall mount? Those are not permitted to be mounted to the walls, so TVs cannot be mounted.
But you can bring your own TV. Sorry, Dan.
Correct. Yep. No, that's correct. You can bring your own TV. You just can't mount it to the wall. We see many students put it on their shelf on their desk, or on their desk or their dresser, depending on how they have their room configured.
There's been some questions about flooring in different halls. So I know Prairie was under construction this summer, and I believe, I'm not positive, so Dan, you might have to correct me, but I think most rooms, if not all, should have LVP flooring. Is that?
It depends on the location. Prairie, yes. Woodland, it depends on the wing, and then Bluff, not yet. We're kind of cycling through as we're doing as we're just replacing and doing upgrades in the different spaces based on the age and use of the building. So it just kind of varies by location. There is a question in the FAQ about, and I know we've had a couple questions in the chat about parents. Parents are welcome to stay and hang out throughout move-in day. We actually see many families that really help get their students settled during the day. Some may stay that first night in Edwardsville. Most, though, typically don't stay during the weekend, but there are plenty of hotels in the area. I know we see quite a few folks stay at the Holiday Inn that's in Edwardsville, kind of across from campus, but there are a variety of hotels kind of around the Edwardsville area.
There are blinds on all the windows already, and it's not like the plasticky blinds or like the curtain ones that pull. So those do come with the rooms, but you are able to bring your own tension rod and curtains if you would like. And then there's another question about cleaning the bathroom and toilet paper. So students are required to bring their own toilet paper and cleaning supplies, because they also are required for cleaning the bathroom themselves. So between the suite, it's up to all those students to maintain the cleanliness and toilet paper of that bathroom. We also recommend command strips for hanging stuff on the walls. Don't do anything to like puncture the walls or damage them. So go to just command strips or painter's blue tape. If you double side that, that's pretty gentle and works for like posters and stuff.
We have gotten a few questions about dining services and meal plans. Students are able to continue to change their meal plan up to 2 weeks into the semester. We would encourage you to, if you do make a change and say you've already made a payment on your meal plan, if you downgrade, you would get that it would get credited to your student account. So you may not get a refund if there's other balances out there. If you increase your meal plan, it would just increase the size of or the amount of your bill. Dining hours, will be posted soon for the fall semester, but typically they're open usually like 7:30, 7 o'clock in the morning during classes when classes are in session. Summer hours do look different until like through the evening. But we will share that information as soon as those hours are released. There is a question about parking passes. You can actually go to the parking services website, and there's a parking self-service system that you can log into to order your parking pass. And then at that point, that's where you would pay for your parking pass. Just make sure that you select one of the residential passes that it would give you access to the yellow lots. There is a question about heating and air conditioning. So all of our Cougar. I'll start with Cougar Village. Cougar Village has their own HVAC system, so furnace and air conditioning units. There are limits on the thermostat, but students do have control over that space. For our residence halls, they are on they'll be on air conditioning for now, and then we will switch it over to heat once the weather cools down, and then we switch it back to air conditioning in the spring. We do rely on work orders and other notifications when students are ready for it to switch over. The building can go into a coast mode as well, where it just circulates the air for kind of those in between weather days. But we do continually monitor the short and long term forecast. What I will say is that for those of you from the Midwest, I know that we have the temperatures that kind of bounce around back and forth, but we work very closely with our facilities team to manage and monitor the temperatures in the buildings for that and get those switched over once the weather either cools down or warms back up. But all of our buildings do have heating and air conditioning. For the parking question about a brown pass, I believe that you would need a yellow permit. I do think that they can put a housing sticker on it, but I would check with parking. Typically, we recommend that students get the yellow permits. And dorm tape is painter's tape. The blue painter's tape works very well. There is a question about restrooms and showers. Those are for our first year, so Bluff Prairie and Woodland, there are up to 4 students per bathroom. And for Cougar Village, it's 3 or 4 depending on the number of students in the apartment. But generally speaking, there are no more than 4 students to a single bathroom and shower.
About the bus passes, so the bus around campus is free, but if you do need to go in town, you have to pay. But I know the Metro has a student pass that you buy online through their website, and I believe it's $15 for, I believe, either a month or a year. I'm not positive, but you can purchase a pass online to use to get you into town. in the metro area.
There are some questions about navigating campus. I would say that most students probably don't use a vehicle to get around campus itself. They may use a vehicle or the bus to get to the city of Edwardsville or to the grocery store, that kind of thing. But I mean, we see most students walk. A lot of us in the office, we're located in Rendleman Hall. We'll walk out to the different buildings as well. We do see students use a variety of whether it be roller skates or skateboards. We do see some hoverboards, bikes and e-bikes, kind of the whole spectrum of different kind of micro mobility vehicles. We do ask, and campus asks that, especially if you're on like an electric vehicle, that you're paying attention and you're not traveling fast in heavily populated or pedestrian areas, like through the core of campus, just for folks' safety. And kind of along with that, students are permitted to bring a bike to campus, and there are bike racks available at each building. The Amtrak station is located in Alton, so I would say, I don't know, 20-minute drive probably from campus. But there is a bus that can also go up to Alton as well.
The showers do come with rods. You just have to bring your own shower curtains for those.
There is a question about if students can have things ordered to campus or their building. So you cannot order, you need to be checked in before SIU will accept packages for students. So we ask that you don't order something today and have it shipped to the building before you move in, because it will be returned to sender. But students can get packages delivered. There are Amazon lockers as well in the Morris University Center that students are able to have items shipped to. All of our packages, though, go to our front desk, whether it be through USPS, UPS, FedEx, Amazon, all that kind of good stuff. And our desk managers process a ton of mail and packages every day. We do log every package though. So just because Amazon says that it's been delivered does not necessarily mean that it's been processed by our staff yet. And that's just to make sure that there's a chain that can be followed in case a student says that, hey, I never got this package. So we do process packages. Students also order delivery food, DoorDash, Instacart, you name it. So those items can be sent to the desk as well. Most of the time, though, the students need to be ready and waiting in the lobby for those items to be delivered, though. We do not have like a refrigerator or anything like that to keep cold items cool, or a warmer to keep warm items warm. There's not any other information during this webinar minus what we'll answer. We're happy to stick around and answer more questions. But I know there were a couple questions on if there's any more content. That is the end of our content, but we will continue to answer any questions that folks have. Students are not able to change their shower head. If there is an issue with your shower head, you can submit a work order through our online work order system, and our plumbers are happy to take a look at it. For our desk manager jobs, those hiring cycles actually happened during the prior year. So right now there are not any positions currently available, both for desk managers and resident assistants. Our facilities team will be hiring some student workers for this upcoming year. I don't know that a timeline's been decided, but our facilities team, main campus facilities team, dining, the library, academic units. There's a lot of different offices that hire students throughout the year. And as a reminder, we will send out a copy. We will send a link to the recording of this webinar too. So for those of you that have just joined, we will send that out. There is a question about buying everything after moving in. We would encourage you to use the checklist, and if you're able to bring things with you, it'll kind of ease in the transition to living on campus. There have been quite a few questions about the parent app. That is, it's called Rafter, and you should have received information about Rafter through SIUE admissions, and they would have the key. You have to have like a key to activate your login, but they would be the ones to contact regarding the Rafter app. There is a question about how well lit campus is after dark on the Q&A side. I would say that campus is pretty well lit, and students can always our facility staff do a great job of monitoring if any of the lights go out outside to get those replaced and changed quickly. I will say that our campus police department does provide escort services. So if a student does say they're working late off campus, or maybe they're studying late in the library, and they may not feel as safe walking back, it's really late, they can contact the non-emergency police number, and the police will escort them back to the building. Every residence hall has a public restroom located on the first floor that is available for anybody to use, including guests, or if their restroom is occupied. The campus bus will take you to Walmart and other places within the Edwardsville, Glen Carbon, really Madison County area. So you are able to take the bus there.
I saw a question about guests in the halls. And so you are allowed to have guests, but you do have to check them in and out at the front desk. And then if they are going to be an overnight guest, there's also a form that they need to fill out in order to stay the night there.
I am posting the bus schedule link for the Madison County Transit page in the chat. That will show the different bus lines that are available. The university shuttle is the no. It's gonna point out the Cougar shuttle is the shuttle that runs for free between Cougar Village and Peck Hall in the center of campus. But you can see the other bus lines there as well. Got another question about dining halls and meal plans. Happy to share information. So for meal plans, students living in Bluff Prairie and Woodland are required to have a residential meal plan, meal plans A, B, or C. And then students in Cougar Village or Evergreen can have either meal plan A, B, or C, or they can have D or F, which are lower cost plans, but they have access to kitchens in their living unit. So some students living in those communities may not have one. All of our meal plans are declining balance, where a percentage is taken from your meal plan to go to dining's fixed costs and those kinds of things. And then when you make a purchase so if you buy a soda, you will only pay the percentage left that's off of your card. Generally, and for this year, it is 70-30. So that means that you will receive 30% of your meal plan on your Cougar card. And then when you go to make a purchase at a dining location, so again, if you're buying a soda for $1, you would only pay 30 cents for that soda. So that's where that kind of the exchange comes in. You are able to check your balance through the Get app, or if you get a receipt at any dining location as well. One thing that we recommend is really during the first week or so, just see how much you're spending, and if you needed to increase or decrease your meal plan, you are able to do so within the first 2 weeks. But you can kind of track your spending during that first week and kind of see where you're at.
There is a question about the halls locking. So at 11 p.m., the interior doors of the building do lock, but in between the interior and exterior doors, there's a kiosk for you to swipe your Cougar card to unlock that interior door. So there is no curfew. They just lock for security reasons. And so just make sure you always have your Cougar card on you just in case you get back to your hall late at night. And then you also are required to swipe your Cougar card every time you enter at the front desk.
There are some questions about storm shelters and basements. Our residence halls do not have any basements, but there are storm locations. There is an emergency sticker and it's a large sticker with emergency information on the back of every residence hall door that has evacuation protocol and other information. Um, and So we would encourage you to follow that. A lot of that information will also be covered during your first floor community meeting at the start of the semester. There is a question about getting locked in a building with a classroom. To my knowledge, all of the buildings have the crash bar. Not residence halls; they have sliding doors, but the crash bars to get out. So you would be able to exit those buildings. But you could always call the University Police Department as well if you needed assistance. There have been some questions about the Welcome Weekend group number. Those should be coming probably by the end of this week or early next week. I know that they are still working on getting those set. So just keep an eye out on your SIUE email for that information. Yes, transfer students are part of Welcome Week events, and generally Welcome Week groups are with roommates. Typically, they do try to keep wings of students together, so you're with the same students that you'll be living with as well. Electric bikes and scooters, those are permitted, but for electric bikes, they must be stored outside with the other bikes.
There's been some more questions about the height of the bed and risers and whatnot. Risers are not allowed. So when you move in, beds are at their highest height of 3 feet. You can lower that and you can bunk the beds, but you have to submit a maintenance request in order to do that. There was another question about what to do if your bikes are outside and there's a storm. There's not a designated place inside the buildings for you to place your bikes, but you can put it in your room if there is a storm coming, just for like that evening or whatnot.
There is a question about heating and cooling. If your room is different than the other rooms within your wing or your building, we would definitely encourage you to submit a work order. In more extreme temperatures like today, where we're under heat advisory all week, you can contact. We do have emergency maintenance available all the time, but you can always go to the front desk, or you can call after hours. You can call the non-emergency police department, and they will get in contact with our on-call staff to address any emergency maintenance, and that would include not just heating and air conditioning, but any leaks, um, uh, lockouts, those types of things. Bed risers are not permitted in university housing. Same with lofting beds. We do not have the orientation schedule for this Friday. We would encourage you to reach out to orientation, um, but you will receive a schedule at orientation check-in.
I'm not positive if they make welcome weekend groups with roommates. I'm going to assume more than likely they will be, but if not, like you are both more than welcome to go to whatever group you would like, as long as you're just going to events.
Typically with heating and cooling, we really don't receive a lot of feedback, especially like when it's really hot outside. Like honestly, what we hear and like what we have heard recently is that it's too cold in the halls, and like I said, it is. We do have to balance kind of the needs of everyone that lives in the building. But generally, most of our spaces are around the same temperature. But during in the evening, if you need to open your window, you can definitely do that. Um, and then use blankets and those kinds of things. But we really don't get many comments or questions or concerns except during kind of the summer to fall, really like summer weather to winter weather and winter weather to spring or summer weather. And really that's because, again, we look at that long-term forecast in terms of, and in Illinois, central Illinois, we will have days where it's like 80 degrees for the high, but then like 45 degrees for the low. And so there's a little bit of balance there.
Someone asked if wax warmers are allowed, and those are not allowed. I'm big on smells, and so I get it, but we do allow like the air plugins to like outlets. Like my desk at my office, I have one of those stick diffusers, and so stuff like that, just basic air fresheners, those are allowed. Just no candles, no wax warmers. Heated blankets are also not allowed. I would just bring your most favorite fluffy large blanket with you.
We have a couple questions about the Welcome Week slides, and because they're over different slides, I did post links to the actual Welcome Week schedule as well. Um, but I'll try to keep the slides moving. The windows in the residence halls do open.
There are
And
screens in the windows as well.
Yep.
So when you open them, there's a screen. I don't believe push pins are allowed in the walls. I would just stick to sticky stuff.
Yep. So we did just get a question about pest control. Um, so we do have a contract with a pest control vendor that does both preventative spray, and that happens regularly. I mean, they're on campus every week, and kind of they're on a schedule to go around to all of our housing units. But then there are if you run into a pest control issue, you can always put in a maintenance request, and then they'll send out our pest control uh, staff to take care of that.
In our first year halls, Bluff, Prairie, and Woodland, there are no kitchens. In the social lounges within every single wing, there is a sink, countertop, and microwave for you to use, but just no like stove and oven. In Evergreen Hall, within specific wings, there's a community kitchen, and some of all the apartments in Evergreen have kitchens, just not the suites. And then all apartments in Cougar Village have kitchens. So if you live in a first year hall, that's why you are required to have a meal plan because you don't have access to a kitchen. There are on every single floor of the first year halls, there's a trash room. So that is where students can take their trash. And then there's also a spot for recycling.
So there was a question about certain floors in Evergreen. There's one kitchen per floor in Evergreen. And then for move-in, you can move in anytime after your move-in time. Typically, you're not permitted to move in before your move-in time. So you could move in after August 13th. If you needed to submit an early arrival request, and there is an additional cost for that, you can go to My Housing, siu.edu/my-housing, and click housing forms and then early arrival request form.
In Evergreen as well, there are trash rooms on every single floor. And then in Cougar Village, there are dumpsters throughout the village. So there'll be some next to your cluster of buildings for you to take your trash. There was also a question about heating pads. I'm not too positive. So Dan, I don't know if you know if heating pads are allowed or not.
Typically, they're treated similar to like heated blankets. It is more of like a fire safety piece, but if there is a need, we would encourage you to talk with your RA about that.
There
So there
are,
are. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to answer the same thing. There are elevators in all of the halls. In the first year halls, there's a trash room on every single floor, and you will see signs directing you towards which wing the trash room is in. If your room number starts with a 3, you are on the 3rd floor. Same with 2, and then 1 is the 1st floor. Evergreen's a little different. If your room number starts with 2, that obviously is the 2nd floor, but the main floor is floor 2. Floor 1 is the lower level, and then 3 and 4 just continues up.
So there's a question about power strips and surge protectors. There's not like a firm limit on how many are permitted. Um, Appliances cannot be plugged into a surge protector. They must be plugged directly into the wall. But students should not be overloading the circuits of their room either. There is a question too about my move-in date is August 14th. Can I move in on August 13th? No, you would need to move in on your date or after, at your time or after. So when you do move in, where do you park? So when you're checking in, you would park at your check-in location. So for students checking in to Woodland and Prairie that are checking in at the Morris University Center, you'll park in parking lot B. For students in Bluff Hall checking in, you would check into Evergreen and you would park in the Evergreen lot. And then once you're released from your respective lots, then you would head directly to the buildings and you are able to park in the building parking lots. For Evergreen and Cougar Village, you would just park in those specific parking lots for those communities. There are tornado safety areas. Again, that information is posted on the back of every residence hall room door. And then there are signs located on campus, like if you're in a campus building as well. It just varies by building. The beds are twin XL. Okay. Well, we've come up on the hour mark. We're happy to stick around for any last questions, but like I said, this is kind of the end of the content for our session. If you do have any other questions, if you're going to be attending any of the orientations coming up, we participate we host a session. We table at a couple things. There is a housing tour. So if you're coming to orientation, please stop by and we're happy to answer any questions. If you already attended orientation or if you have any other questions before then, feel free to send us an email, housing@siue.edu, or you can give us a call, 618-650-3931. Our office hours, business hours are 8 to 4:30, Monday through Friday. And we do work to keep up on all of the calls and emails that folks send us. You can also chat with us on, if you log into My Housing, you can also chat there during business hours as well. But we do appreciate all of the questions that have come in. We hope that this has been helpful for everyone. Well, we haven't seen any additional questions, so we hope that everyone has a good evening, and be on the lookout for the recording posted online, but we will also email it out. If you have any questions, let us know. Thanks.
Thank you.